Hi, Pam Washington here from Build My Cleaning Business. So I have an interesting lesson for you today. This is something that I see a lot of cleaning business owners struggling with. It's around goal setting and being able to work on both short-term and long-term goals at the same time. And so here's a demonstration that I want you to think about. Most cleaning business owners that I know tend to overestimate what they can accomplish in the short term. This seems to be a common failing. I don't know if it's specific to cleaning business owners or if it's specific to entrepreneurs, but I see it a lot. At the same time, we also tend to underestimate what we can achieve in the long term. Okay? This is something that it's important to be aware of and to try to combat, because what happens is entrepreneurs by nature tend to be sort of action-oriented and results-oriented, and so it leads us to focus too much or exclusively on the short term, the things that can get us the most immediate result. And let me tell you why that's a problem. That's a problem because it sets up two dynamics. The first one is that when you're so focused on the short term, you never get around to the long term. And, you know, if you think about human accomplishment and the achievements of mankind, some of the most powerful and amazing things that we've done as a species have not been short term. You've heard that saying that Rome wasn't built in a day. Perfect example. You know, it took decades of time to create not only the city of Rome, but the Roman Empire. It just isn't something that, you know, can be accomplished with a short-term perspective. There's another saying that I really like, which is the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you harvest the fruit. I actually have to repeat this one to myself a lot because I tend to be rather impatient. So what I want you to think about is put in your mind a tree. And, you know, trees and plants have seasons. And so in the wintertime, the leaves are, the branches are barren, the leaves are not there. It looks like the tree is not doing anything. But in fact, during the winter season, the tree is working on its root system. It's building important infrastructure, and it's, you know, it's getting nourishment from the soil, and it is in fact doing things. They're just subterranean. You can't necessarily see them. Then in the spring, you see new branches, you see leaves, you see flowers, you see fruit. A tree can't have, you know, that kind of rapid growth all the time. It just can't. So there are seasons for your business, just like there are in nature. Okay? So I want you to think about the difference between hunting and farming. Now, if you're only hunting, what happens is if you don't catch something today or tomorrow, you're going to go hungry. You're not going to be able to eat, you know, today, this week. If you're farming, maybe you planted your seeds, but you're going to have to wait quite a while for your seedlings to be ready to harvest. So it's not that either hunting or farming is bad. The key is that you need to do both. Because if you hunt, you will eat for a day or a week. And if you farm, you will eat for months at a time, for a whole season. So it's important that you combine both of those two in your activities for your business. And that's how I want you to think about marketing, planning, goal setting in general for your business. Now, I said to you that there were two important dynamics that are set up that are problematic for your business when you focus solely on the short term. The first one we just covered, which is that you never get around to the long term. If you're so busy hunting every day, that you're exhausted and you never have time to plant seeds, you know, that's not a good thing. The other problem with focusing over much with the short term is that it makes you feel bad. And here's why. You remember I said that most cleaning business owners overestimate what they're going to be able to accomplish in the short term. So what happens is we tend to have these huge goals for short term. Let's say we have a weekly goal or even a monthly goal. And because we're so focused on that, and part of the reason that we're so focused on that is because we haven't done anything long term, so now we're coming from a place of desperation with regard to the short term. So because of that, we set these huge goals, which are unrealistic and unattainable. I see this time and time again in my coaching practice. I see people setting, these goals that are just unattainable. And then what happens is when they fail to meet that goal this week or this month, they do one of two things. They either set an even bigger goal for the next time frame, maybe even adding on, the one that they didn't meet, or they'll beat themselves up. And what happens here is maybe you have some negative self-talk. Maybe you begin to feel discouraged. Maybe you even give up, or you think about giving up. But what all of these do together is they make it more difficult for you to be productive. Because now it's like you're slogging through a swamp. You've already had, a bad experience. You set this goal, it didn't work. In the back of your mind, there's this negative, and so what happens is it winds up being a cycle. You set a short-term goal, you fail. So you set an even bigger one, you don't meet that one either, you fail. You set an even bigger one, and pretty soon what you've created is a self-perpetuating cycle that just, becomes huge, sometimes overwhelming and insurmountable. So that's the reason that I wanted to point out to you why it is dangerous and not a good thing to only focus on short-term goals. It's very tempting because there's excitement around, taking action and, these huge unattainable things that we set for ourselves. They're exciting, and so, we're all pumped up about meeting them. But I submit to you that it's much better for your business in the long term for you to be able to think about both short-term and long-term goals. You have to do both because, remember, we found that some of the biggest, best, most important accomplishments are long-term. They're just not things that you can accomplish in a day, a week, or a month. So that's it for this video. Oh, for those of you that are signed up for my Make 2017 Your Best Year Yet, I wanted to just point out to you that I'm going to cover this in even more detail on the training video that we're going to be doing. And here's what we're actually going to cover is I'm going to give you some short-term and long-term tactics for residential, and then some separate ones for commercial. Okay, so for each of these, you're going to have short-term and long-term. Okay, so if you have signed up for the webinar, that's great. This is one of the things that we're going to cover. If you haven't signed up for the webinar, make sure that you go ahead and do that. Also, I want to encourage you to attend the training, the webinar training, because I'm going to have a special bonus for those people who do. It'll be at the end, so you have to watch all the way through. But I just wanted to give you a little teaser about what we're going to cover on the webinar about making 2017 your best year yet. So that really is all for now, and I'll see you on the next one.